Doing, and I said I was going to do a video about talking about Carlton Towns and also Kyrie Irving with the 60 points. I wanted to discuss what I call the PlayStation syndrome of sports, but also pertains to music. Everything with the streams and the box office and the numbers. You can't appreciate nothing unless it has big numbers to be inflated and to seduce you. I get asked about what I think about how this players are from this time and that time. And I'll tell you like this. I have seen, like if I use basketball, I have seen great individual players. I'll say some of the greatest ever. However, if you ask me teams, we talking teams? Well, back in the 80s, the Lakers, Celtics, Pistons, Sixers were great teams. And you had teams that were really good. I have not seen what I would call great teams. The Bulls were great in the 90s, obviously. And there were a couple other teams that were interesting, like a Utah. Portland was interesting. Phoenix was interesting. Houston won, but I didn't look at Houston as a particularly great team. There's a big difference between I look at a great team. Then we go up to Shaq and Kobe. That Lakers teams were great. Those Spurs teams with Tim Duncan Robinson, they were in Ginobili Park. They were great. Miami had a great team. Golden State had a great team. Detroit had that 1 year wonder. Dallas had that 1 year wonder. I tell you that Dallas Mavericks beating Miami was probably the last time that I saw one great player like a Dirk Nowitzki take guys that were past the pull date or what have you and won. But the thing is, the numbers are over seduced. They thrown at you arcade. They're thrown at you pinball. It's like a fast food mindset, like boom, boom, boom. But it doesn't mean that it's great. You're getting all this quantity. You're not getting quality. So when I see people scoring a lot of points, it's great for the individual, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily, it's like when you look at quarterbacks and football, the numbers are bigger, but it doesn't mean that the teams are great. It doesn't mean that you're having the same context. Baseball too. It's about trying to hit the long ball, score all the runs. Does not mean that you're not seeing greatness. And the numbers are inflated in pro sports on purpose. It's done to make it more dramatic, to cover a lot of the mediocrity, to cover a lot of the simplicity, and also cover a lot of the flaws, which they're not even what I call flaws that you can work on. They're flaws that it's been accepted. It's kind of like you got a chance to get a new pair of shoes and you walk with a hole in it, and if you get a cut, you just walk with that hole in that cut, and that's acceptable. Whereas back in the day, you try to patch that up and get that covered up, buy you a new pair. Those are the things that they're allowing a lot of times what I see in modern day sports. And I just feel that you're not getting the same context of teams and the concept. I know the money's changed and all that other stuff. And of course, it's more social media and conglomerate. But it's been watered down. And it's done like that on purpose because they think the attention span ain't but such. So they would rather have it. That's a lot of acting. It's done like that on purpose. And I will talk about the music industry, how the numbers are inflated with the streams. But this thing in sports is just similar. It's all across all forms of entertainment. To allow someone who might be good to look like they're great, but are they really great? And you get people who try to say, well, such and such and such. But it's just a lot of stat padding that gets glorified. But anyway, that's my thoughts about sports, stat padding culture, and how these numbers are inflated to look a lot more than what they are. And believe me, there's a reason why Wilt Chamberlain record stood the test as it did. And it wasn't because he was going against 5'10" white guys or guys who were just milkmen or packaging. There was skills back then. See, greatness transpires time. There's a reason. And people like to shortcoming and poo-poo on, the past. But ask yourself, what do you really have now that you could sit there? You got a handful of people that you could say they're legitimately greats. That's all you get. You don't get all this long stream. Because everybody putting up 25, 20 points, or throwing these touchdown passes, or catching all these touchdowns, or hitting all these home runs, or pitching, they're not as great as you think. But it's done to seduce the eye. Then when it comes time when I'm getting jewelry or being said, what's your standard? I can point and show you. All right, that's my thoughts. Take it, like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another, and a lot of this stuff is inflated. I'm out.